one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our guest speakers for this evening, as you all know, will be Larry Nichols and Arkansas State Trooper Larry Patterson. Some of the information they will be covering will be the MENA drug smuggling and money laundering, Whitewater, the Arkansas Development and Finance Authority, Clinton's campaign slush funds, the death of Vince Foster, the Fisk and Starr investigations, the Paula Jones incident, and Clinton's other 100 or so women.
I had this crazy dream about some folks who love this country, who all began to dream the same dream. And when the morning came, there arose across this nation people thinking one and the same. And they awoke to find their freedoms and all their liberties had gradually been taken away. And when they realized the danger to their posterity, I heard those patriotic people say, we want this country back. We ain't just joking, Jack. We want our liberty and our dignity and our freedoms and our rights restored. We want this country back. She's been driven way off track.
Larry Patterson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Larry Patterson. I'm not a politician. I'm a policeman, and I have been one for 29 years. I started my 30th year with the Arkansas State Police, December the 15th, 1995. For 6.5 of those 29 years, I was assigned to personal security for Bill and Hillary Clinton, and literally traveled the world with the two of them. I saw them at their best. I saw them at their worst. I saw Bill Clinton for 6 years work every day to become the 42nd president of our country, and whatever it took for him to achieve that, he done. And ladies and gentlemen, he will do the same to stay in office. We're told that by the national news media that character is not important for the president of our country. Our sports figures it's very important for them, but character is not important to be the leader of our country and the leader of the free world. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I disagree. I think character is very important. That's what our country, one of the things it was founded on was hard work and character and truth. I saw Bill Clinton day after day when he did not have to lie to people. They would ask him a question, and if it was expedient for Bill Clinton to lie, he would do it day after day. We got back in the car, we'd leave the meeting, or we'd go back to the office. He'd make some comment like, could you believe that? They believe that. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the kind of man that's our president. And if you notice something about him, do something for yourself. Notice how many times in a week or in a month Bill Clinton's hair will change colors. No, I'm serious. If it's something that he should be very stately and like a president, his hair is gray. But if it's something to attract the younger voter, his hair is dark. He once made this statement to me. We're driving down the road. We just left a function, and he said, he's got his arm on the back of the seat, and he's patting me on the shoulder, and he says, you know, Larry, he said, I guess I'm going to have to be a lifetime politician. He said, I'm too old to be a movie star now. Ladies and gentlemen, the ego you could not put in 5 buildings this size. I saw a man who could be having the worst day of his life, ladies and gentlemen. Everything going wrong. From him kicking the door off of the car to throwing stuff to screaming and cursing. And all you had to do to turn Bill Clinton around, and you could do it in 30 seconds or less, was mention something about a female or something sexual. And Bill Clinton would be patting you on the back and asking you, Larry, who's your new girlfriend? Tell me all about it. Have you slept with her yet? That's the kind of man that we put in the White House. And I've been asked about Hillary. Ladies and gentlemen, in 6.5 years of traveling the country with Bill and Hillary Clinton and being around them on a daily basis, I never saw Hillary Clinton ever enjoy herself. I never saw her have a good time. I never saw her let her hair down, not one time, or her guard down one time. If anyone in the White House has an agenda, ladies and gentlemen, it's Hillary Clinton and not Bill Clinton. He said during the election that you were getting them as a team. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's no cabinet member. There is no advisor. There is no senator or congressman or the vice president that has more influence on Bill Clinton than Hillary Clinton does. We saw it time and time again that he would make a decision, or he would say something to the news media that she would disagree with, and when we got home, or she would call him on the phone, and within minutes he would do a 180-degree turn. Ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, since the first day that Bill Clinton has been in office, he has never taken a stand on anything. The stands that he has taken, he has soon reversed. He is a man of little or no character, of little or no substance. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our country. It belongs to us. And we're in the process of losing an entire generation right now. If we don't do something, if we don't make some decisions, we're going to lose a generation. And we're going to lose them to drugs, and we're going to lose them to gangs, and we're going to lose them to crime. It's time that we took our country back. And what you're doing here this evening, ladies and gentlemen, you have made a decision, and you're doing your part in taking our country back, making our streets safe again. We can't do that with Bill and Hillary Clinton in the White House. What you need to do, and what you have to do, is you have to be the best informed voter in the history of our country when you go to the polls. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you to vote for this candidate or that candidate. I'm telling you to be informed, to ask hard questions. We've never asked hard questions of our politicians, have we? If we ask them, and as soon as they're in office, and they don't fulfill those promises, we say, well, you know, they're politicians. They're expected to do that. No, they're not, ladies and gentlemen. They've asked for our trust, and they've asked for our vote. And it's time that we made those people be responsible. It's time that we took our country back. I've been asked many, many times, well, Larry, why didn't you do this during the election? Ladies and gentlemen, my personnel file during the presidential election was FOI'd, the Freedom of Information Act, by the national news media. and by all news media over 25 times. Every state policeman and governor's security, their personnel files were FOI'd. The news media knew everything about us. Every time that one of our personnel files was FOI'd, we were called in and we were told, Larry, if you know what's good for you, if you know what's best for you and your family, you'll keep your mouth shut. Ladies and gentlemen, I was 20-something years in the Arkansas State Police. I've got an 18-year-old daughter that's in college. And believe me, there's a lot of nights that I have stared at the ceiling and said to myself, Larry, you should have had a little more backbone. You should have stood up a little quicker. You should have told what happened a little earlier. But I didn't do it. But ladies and gentlemen, there was 4 state policemen. There was a total of 10 state policemen assigned to governor's security. There was 4 of us who decided we needed to do the right thing. And we needed to tell the things we knew about the 42nd president of our country and about his wife, Hillary Rodham Clinton, and what went on in the Arkansas governor's mansion and what we saw that went on in the back seat of the Lincoln town car that was assigned to him, or hotel rooms or restaurants or bars or wherever it may be. Immediately, 2 of those troopers were offered federal jobs. A FEMA director, a U.S. Marshal's job, whatever they wanted. 2 of them dropped out. 2 of us stayed the course. Roger Perry and myself. We made a vow, ladies and gentlemen, that we were going to tell the truth. And we've told the truth. And we're going to continue to tell the truth as long as there is breath in our bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not trying to scare you, I'm telling you, this is my honest belief. If Bill Clinton is elected to 4 more years in the White House, you will not know this great country of ours at the end of those 4 years. Do your part. Be an informed voter. Talk to your family. Talk to your friends. That's the way it has to be done. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you did not come to hear me. The gentleman who is with me has fought the fight for a long, long time, and he has paid a big, big price. He does it 5, 6, 7 days a week for many long hours every day. He's on talk radio shows, and thank God for talk radio. If I may, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the best friend that the American people have today, a man who is going to continue to keep the American people informed, your friend and mine, Mr. Larry Nichols.
Hello. I'll have to bend over a little bit to get to the mic. You're waving. Did I do something wrong? Oh. My name's Larry Nichols. First thing I have to say is Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And I don't like to mix religion, and I don't. But if you were us and you were facing the people we face every day, you better get to know the Maker, because I might get to meet him sooner than later, as you know some of the other people have. I guess it's pretty well known that I don't like Bill Clinton. But I went to work for Bill in 1988, and I'll get through the little historical recap as quick as I can, because I've got some very good, very exciting news to tell you tonight. I met Bill and Hillary in the 70s, went to work in 1988 at a place called the Arkansas Development Finance Authority. I hadn't been there 2 months that I discovered that people were making loans, getting loans, like Webster Hubble through his father-in-law for $2.85 million, Don Tyson for $10 million, 2 loans, and they weren't paying them back. So that you don't think something of me that I'm not, that did not bother me. As far as I was concerned, that was fine. That's business as usual in Arkansas, and all I had to do was do a good job covering it up. And someday I figured I'd get one. It was when I was looking, you know, if people bought bought bonds, and these people weren't paying them back, then somebody was going to sue. So it was my job to find out who the bondholders were and come up with some strategy. It was there that I found out that Dan Laster was laundering drug money through that agency. I found some $771 million. I went to Bill Clinton September the 13th, 1988, and I said, Bill, you're breaking the law. The agency is, and we got to straighten it out, or in 2 weeks I will. He said, I'm going to Japan on a trade envoy. When I get back, we'll make it right. So that you know, and I don't want anybody leaving here thinking Larry Nichols is something he's not. I really didn't know when I went into Clinton that he was connected to it. I sort of thought that because of Laster that he might have known, but I thought Dan Laster was using him. Within a twinkle of an eye, the minute I said what I did, I knew Clinton not only knew about it, was a part of it. And folks, if I could take 30 seconds of my life back, I wouldn't have done it. The price has been incredibly high on my family. Today is the second year today, anniversary of the day my daddy died. As a matter of fact, at about 1 something this morning, I will have held my daddy in my arms, and the last breath he heard on this earth, I promised him I'd get our name back. I haven't done a very good job of that, but it's very important to me that y'all know what this game is about. I've got a daughter 15 years old. You've got children. You've got grandchildren. When Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton get through with us, when they get through with this country, and they cause this nation to be like Arkansas, your children and my daughter won't have a chance. Not a chance. It won't look anything like you see it today. You've already seen Hillary try to force through health care. You've already seen Bill Clinton introduce gays and every kind of thing into the military that you can imagine. You've already seen Bill Clinton break every law in the book, take away what I knew about and what I know about from the 80s. Look at what he's done since he's been president. Is there anybody here from the mainstream media? Will you raise your hand? I can't really see. One. Hello. Congratulations. You're one of the few people. Wherever we speak, as many people as show up. In Spokane, Washington, 7,000 people. Not a single person from the mainstream media. All over the country, but they don't show up. Why is it?
Paid off.
Huh?
Paid off.
Well, I'm not going to stand here and tell any of you that I believe the media gets in a back room and they plan this, that, and the other, but I'll tell you what goes on. Every reporter in this nation, that reporter right over there, I'm going to show him some stuff tonight that is not Larry Nichols. Everything I say to you tonight, I can prove. Every word. And I don't mean prove it by me saying it. I mean, prove it by documents that either I stole or somehow I got my hands on when I left ADFA. Folks, Bill Clinton is a pathological liar. He's a draft-dodging, womanizing, drug-using son of a bitch. sooner we all accept that and understand that, the sooner you'll realize what we're up against. The man is the most powerful man in the world. Is there anybody in this room that has not seen Bill Clinton lie through his teeth? Is there anything Bill Clinton has told anyone in this nation or in the world that he has said and done what he said? No. I can prove right here, Mr. Media, I do not know if Vince Foster killed himself or if somebody killed him, but I can prove that he did not die in Fort Marcy Park the way they said he did. I'm going to show you the actual Secret Service memo. It's right in here. And it says in this book, the Secret Service memo, that on 7/20/93 unknown time, Vince Foster was found in his car in the Fort Marcy area. A .38 caliber revolver was found in the car with him. Now, folks, this is the real deal. I know you're over there thinking maybe I made that up or maybe I doctored it up. To make sure that you don't dispute what I say, at the top of the page is the number 255. Is in the Senate archives from the banking committee from the very first investigation conducted into the death of Vince Foster. It's in the file. That's the real memo. Now let me ask you, is that not a far cry from him supposedly parking his car, walking 700 feet on a dirt trail in the hot summer and not getting one microscopic speck of dust on his shoe, according not to Larry Nichols, but the FBI analysis in the Robert Fisk report? Huh? Does that not bother you a little bit? Shouldn't that bother the Washington Times, the Washington Post? Shouldn't it bother somebody that you just can't do that? Well, I can tell you it makes a lot more sense when you understand that he was in his car dead. Now let me ask you, in your simplest of simple terms, you and I know we can't walk across this carpet from here to that door and not get dust on our shoe, right? You can't do that. But yet they're saying he walked 700 feet and didn't get a microscopic speck of dust. Now let me ask you, since he can't walk to the cannon and not get dust on his shoe, do you believe if somebody wrapped him in a carpet and threw him over their shoulder, or two people carried him, do you think he could have gotten to the cannon without a speck of dust on his shoe? That's possible then, isn't it? If somebody carried him and his feet never touched the ground, right? Wasn't it odd that in that very report they found carpet fibers? Do you see anything in the Washington Times? Do you see anything in the Washington Post, New York Times? Do you see anything on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN? We'll never really know. What I believe happens with the media, here it is. I believe that when you look at the big corporations, when I first started years ago in marketing, there were some 2,250 newspapers that were owned independently in this country. And I'm talking about as late as 10, 15 years ago. Do you know today that those same 2,200 newspapers, which are actually less now, are all controlled by less than 50 people in corporation? Just so happens that those are the same corporations that were behind NAFTA and GATT. Do you notice how Bill Clinton does everything he does to support those corporations? You see, in Bill Clinton's world, in Arkansas, there are the really handful of rich people. Jack Stevens, Stevens Investment, Don Tyson, Tyson Industries. And everybody else is way down in the poverty section. And that's the world Bill Clinton sees for this nation. Now, some people would call that socialism. And I don't know what you call the difference. That's what Bill Clinton's trying to achieve. What about Senator Alphonse D'Amato? Does it not bother you that nobody in this country has produced this many documents just out of this book right here, 150 pages? And of course I've produced gazillions more. But right here, does it not bother you that nobody in this country has put out the documents that I have? Do you realize they had Senate whitewater hearings under Senator Alphonse D'Amato talking about the night Foster died and the people that went in that night, Bernie Nussbaum, Patsy Thomason, Maggie Williamson, went in and raided Vince Foster's office that night and the next day and took stuff out? Does it not bother you that they had hearings about that? Do you know you're looking at the guy right here that for 6 months prior to it being out in the Washington Times and the Washington Post from Jerry Sieper and Mike Isikoff, I'm the guy that for 6 months had been screaming it on the radio that they went into Foster's office. Bernie Nussbaum went on ABC News and said I was a liar and I was a nut. 6 months later, 3 days after the articles come out and they finally write about it, he steps down and resigns. But doesn't it bother you they're holding hearings on what happened? Do you know they've not called me and asked me, how did I know they went in there? Doesn't that bother you a little bit? Bothers me. Does it bother you that they're talking about the mysterious happenings around the death of Vince Foster, but have you heard them call in Helen Dickey? Have you heard them call in that there, Larry Patterson, Roger Perry, and Lynn Davis? Helen Dickey, former nanny for Chelsea when he was governor back in Arkansas, she calls back to Arkansas to Jim Guy Tucker, tells him that Vince Foster's dead. She has to go through the guard shack. Roger Perry calls Larry Patterson, Lynn Davis, his mother. He calls them, says, you're not going to believe what Helen Dickey said. The problem with the phone call is she said, you're not going to believe it, Vince Foster went out in his car in the parking lot of the White House and blew his brains out. Now wait a minute, she said the parking lot of the White House. Well, let's discard that. She made the phone call 15 minutes before anybody found the body. And here are the affidavits, here are the sworn affidavits. What's Senator Alphonse D'Amato up to? Why have they not called Larry Nichols? I'm the one that got the affidavits. I'm the one that had the Secret Service memo. I had it a week after Vince Foster died. Everybody said, well, why didn't you bring it out? Well, if I'd have brought it out then, they would have changed their story to make it fit around the Secret Service memo. Bill Clinton gets caught lying. You know what he does? He changes his story. Do you know what the media does? They take his story, accept it. Let me tell you something that happened this past weekend. Bill Clinton went to Iowa, spent 2 days there. He had registered Democrats cross over and vote in the Republican primary for Bob Dole. He spent all of his time. Now, the media reported that Bill Clinton went into Iowa to get votes in the Democratic primary. Folks, there wasn't anybody running in the Democratic primary. And let me give you the shocker of shockers. The media knows Bill Clinton was soliciting Democrats to cross over and vote in the Republican primary. Who do you think he was having them vote for? Bob Dole. You know why? Do you know who came out? I'd been screaming for months, watch out, Bob Dole's no different than Bill Clinton. He's financed by the same Jackson Stevens. He's controlled by Stevens just like Clinton. The day he announced for president, it comes out in the paper finally that Bob Dole's campaign co-finance chair is none other than Jack Stevens, the same man through his PACs and his money put $7.8 million into Bill Clinton's campaign for president. As a matter of fact, when Bill Clinton took over the office of president, he took his senior CEO from Arkla Gas, which is a solely owned Stevens entity, and made him chief of staff. And you wonder, why are the Republicans, why is D'Amato not calling Larry Nichols? Well, there's another reason. Not only is D'Amato Bob Doe's campaign chairperson for New York. And guess what? 18 of Stevens's PACs contribute heavily to Senator Alfonse's campaign. But you have another problem. If you ask Larry Nichols, well, tell us your story on national TV, Larry. Well, I went to work at ADFA just like I told you, and I found $771 million worth of money being laundered by Dan Laster. Well, then you have to ask the question, well, where did Dan Laster get the money? It came from Mena, Arkansas. Well, when you say the words Mena, Arkansas, there was a major drug operation and money laundering, hundreds of millions a month. The problem was it started under 2 Republican administrations. And the Republican Party, if Larry Nichols comes out, is afraid that they may be caught and some of their people be harmed. So that you don't feel totally bad about the Mena operation, it was going on last summer and it's going on today, bigger and better than ever. DEA agent from Florida called me, and y'all going to think, well, boy, that reporter will get me on this one because I can't prove it. Last summer, a DEA agent from Florida called me and said there were 4 planes of cocaine, C-130s, coming up from Honduras. It was loaded by a Mesquite Indian named Gatto, and 2 of them were stopping at Mena, and they were loaded with 4x4 pallets of cocaine, and 2 of them would go over to another landing strip in Oklahoma. He said, would you go over and bust it? I said, why am I going to bust it? They'll kill you. They'll kill the last guy you got your car from. You know, I'm not going to go mess with them. I said, you're the DEA. Why don't you do something? They had orders to stand down. Your Drug Enforcement Agency task force out of Florida have orders to stand down. The way I can prove that event is there was a reporter standing by me when I got the phone call, and he was crazy. He went the day the drugs were coming. He saw the planes hovering and was driven from, now by the way, it was in broad daylight. He was driven off the runway at gunpoint. The planes landed in broad daylight and unloaded. Doesn't that bother you? What chance have we got? What chance has my 15-year-old daughter got? What chance do your children and grandchildren have? The day Bill Clinton took office, what was the first thing he did? He fired every federal prosecutor. He stopped the drug interdiction policy for this nation. He made the AWAC plane that patrolled the borders. He made it stand down. You see, he works for the drugs. Everything about Bill Clinton, think about it. Everything you see and hear about Bill Clinton, doesn't it bother you that it always comes around to cocaine? I was with Stevens in 1981, actually, when he went with Bill Clinton down in a small town called Texarkana, Arkansas, and he told Bill Clinton that he would put $100,000 into his campaign for governor. He had been defeated after his first term, and he would put $100,000 in if he would go and dry out on cocaine. Did you know Bill Clinton went to Minnesota in 1982, dried out on cocaine, went back in 1985, and you say, well, you certainly can't prove that. Yes, I can. If you'll look in this book, you'll see in 1982, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton put $120,000 into their campaign. Not a loan, cash, into their campaign. They did not have a pot to pee in. Where did they get that money? It was never converted to a loan. Here it is. Now let me tell you, if you go to Arkansas and you ask, let me see Bill Clinton's campaign financial records, you can go back, just any of you that have seen the Clinton Chronicles, Nichols versus Clinton, you've seen Judge Jim Johnson. Lord, that man hadn't run since 1954. You can go to the Secretary of State's office in Arkansas and get every campaign financial report ever run by that man. It's there today. Anybody else in Arkansas you can get, but when you go to Bill Clinton and say, can I see Bill Clinton's campaign records, they'll tell you they don't have them. They burned. Bill Rimple, Los Angeles Times, went down there and said, how did Bill Clinton's alone burn? The little girl said she didn't know. Well, I got good news, ladies and gentlemen. I got them. I got them. And if anybody wants them, all they got to do is ask. And to prove I got them, the $120,000 is right here. When I say they were laundering drug money at the Arkansas Development Finance Authority, I know a lot of you say, oh my God, Larry, you can't prove that. Yes, I can. Right in here, you'll see Deloitte Touche, the working audit, the papers where they're auditing that agency. They state very clearly that there's money of unknown origin up there. I have one of the leading people that investigates BCCI that took my documents. He says very clearly in here, it was apparent that on Coral Reinsurance, just one group, that they were laundering drug money at that agency because there was no gain. The money didn't go anywhere. They were just floating money around. I can prove everything I say. I said Don Tyson, since 1973, had been under investigation for trafficking narcotics and money laundering. FBI, DEA, state police, they said, don't pick on Don Tyson, he'll kill you. It's right here. Here are some of the documents, actual DEA documents. I said Dan Laster had been giving cocaine to 16-year-old girls in exchange for sexual favors. Dan Laster, Bill Clinton's best buddy, who, by the way, when I released the documents from, and by the way, I have the handwritten in here statement from the 16-year-old girl in the trial that put Dan Laster in jail. Here is the grand jury testimony. Dan Laster gets CNN to do a piece about him, and he says on CNN that he'd only met Bill Clinton 8 times. Of course, it has come out subsequently, under oath, I might say, in the Terry Reid trial, because of a state trooper. What was his name, Larry? What?
Barry Spivey.
Barry?
Barry.
Barry Spivey, state police, he stated under oath that on numerous occasions he would take Bill Clinton down to Dan Laster's office, and get this, he would drive around the block for anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and then pick him up. Folks, I'm not lying. I can prove every word of it, and you know it. We have state policemen now, we have FBI people now that have testified under oath that not only did Bill Clinton, and by the way, I am not saying here tonight, please read my lips, I don't believe Bill Clinton ever sold an ounce of dope. I don't believe Bill Clinton ever laundered $1 of money. But here's what I can prove. Bill Clinton not only knew people close to him was doing it, he blocked investigations and shut investigations down to stop it. And there ain't no difference in the book about that crime. There ain't no difference. And I can prove that. As I said earlier, I can prove to you they're lying. FBI, Secret Service, White House, they're lying about the terms and the conditions around the death of Vince Foster. I can prove it. Now, will any major media in this town write the proof? Will you? Let me ask you, if Jesse Jackson came to this town and there's a half a dozen people came to hear him, this place would be lined with TV cameras, wouldn't it? I commend the media people that are here. I also commend the FBI and Secret Service people that are here and not saying anything, but welcome, guys. How would you like to be me for a day? Have the most powerful man in the world after you? How would you like to be me and have the Republicans hate you, the Democrats hate you? How would you like to have witnesses being killed all around you? How would you like to have people that you know and things that you said cause somebody to be dead? It ain't much fun. Just this past Friday, actually this past Thursday, a publicist of mine that helped me do talk shows, Laura Phillips, killed herself. It was a suicide. She closed her desk, turned around to Kent, her husband, who also was my publicist, and said goodbye and pulled the gun out and blew her brains out. Nobody killed her. But the stress, the pain, it eats you up. How would you like to be me and look at my daughter and I can't buy her things? I can't do the things that dads ought to do. How would you like to have your wife tell you about every morning how big a bum you are because you can't work? Who's going to hire me? And by the way, I don't take the money from this stuff. I put it back into paying phone bills and getting the word out. I do that. And to the man with the media, so he won't think I'm here hustling these books. If there's a printer in the place, you can have this book and make copies for anybody that wants them. I'm not selling them anymore. To be honest, I don't even want them anymore. I'm bitter. What more can a man do? I mean, I've gone 8 years telling the truth to be called liars by every media in the world. What more have I got to pay to tell the truth? What more can I do than give you the documents? See, now you're the material witness just like me. Okay, they don't like me. What have they got against you? What can Senator Alphonse D'Amato say to you when you hand him the Secret Service memo? What can they say to you? Don't matter, they'll say it. How would you like to be Billy Dale? Simply because Bill and Hillary wanted their job to give to their nephew, they put that man in jail. What kind of people do that kind of stuff? These people are animals. And they're running our government. You better get up. I ain't leading you nowhere. I ain't no leader. I do 6 to 20 hours of talk shows every day, screaming till my lungs are just nearly gone. Been beat up 5 or 6 times, ribs broken, new elbow, poisoned. And I'm tired. I'm real tired. But I made a promise to my daddy, and it ain't over until Bill Clinton kills me or he meets me at high noon. And one of us is going to leave town because one of us is lying and one of us isn't. And I told Bill Clinton that in 1992. And I meant every word of it. Let me give you some good news, and then I'll take your questions. I don't mean to bore you with me talking. Friday, Kenneth Starr's assistant met with me officially for 4.5 hours. They will tell you, they will tell anybody in the media that Larry Nichols is not uncredible anymore. They will tell you that I'm not a nut. And they will tell you that what I said I could do, I could do. And I'm telling you, based off a promise I made to them, I would not lie to you. I won't lie on the radio. There are certain things that I found out in that meeting that I can't tell you because it wouldn't be legal or whatever. But let me tell you why they have not met with me. I didn't understand it. I do now. And by the way, I don't think they were stroking me. I think they were telling me the truth because, boy, I'll guarantee you, we dug in. They were granted Kenneth Starr. If I saw or you saw Bill Clinton rob a piggy bank today, you cannot go to Kenneth Starr with it. You see, he has jurisdiction, specific jurisdiction that was issued him by, the judge, the role of special prosecutor. And it says that he is specifically to investigate Whitewater, Bill and Hillary Clinton, Jim and Susan McDougal. But it does have a thing that says in anything that comes out of that investigation, he can investigate. So you see, he's not a federal prosecutor, so don't go to him that Bill Clinton robbed a bank. My stuff deals with ADFA, right? And by the way, Helen Dickey, he knows about Helen Dickey. By the way, folks, there is no doubt in Kenneth Starr's mind, special prosecutor's mind, that Helen Dickey called to Arkansas before Vince Foster's body was found. Don't doubt it 1 second. And they will pursue Miss Dickey, and you will be hearing Kenneth Starr go after the White House over that one. Now, I've told you about the affidavits. I've told you about the Secret Service memo. I've told you about her phone call. By the way, it came out last week or week before last in the New York Post that a pager from the Pentagon shows that David Watkins was notified at 7:15 about the death of Vince Foster, which is an hour and 15 minutes before the White House was supposed to have known. Now, the reason I tell you that, Bill Clinton has said he did not find out about Vince Foster's death. Now, of course, you all know based off my stuff that they knew hours ahead of time about Foster, but they publicly have said they did not find out, and the official report says they didn't find out until 8:30. We now know, not me saying it, not you, but by a pager, that in fact the White House knew at 7:15, which means Bill Clinton knew before he went to the Larry King program, which means all of that was a fake. Kenneth Starr will get to the bottom, and somebody will be indicted on Helen Dickey. Kenneth Starr does know beyond any shadow of any doubt that Bill and Hillary Clinton are lying through their teeth about everything they say. Kenneth Starr knows that the documents that were found, the billing documents, that there is obvious and overt obstruction of justice. And somebody, if they have to walk the dog all the way home, will be prosecuted over that. I think the day of Bill and Hillary Clinton will come to an end, hopefully sooner than later, but we are going to have to put our trust in this prosecutor for the time being. Now, we did accomplish that night something. I told you that he couldn't deal with me officially because my stuff was ADFA and it didn't connect to Madison. I told him that it did connect. He said it doesn't connect, and I said it did connect, and he said how? I said you're investigating Seth Ward in Castle Grande. He said that's right. If you look at the date of Castle Grande, and if you look at the very first loan made at ADFA to Seth Ward's company Parkometer, you will find $2.85 million was on and around the same date. And I bet you that some of the money for and around Castle Grande was obtained through that $2.85 million. Kenneth Starr is now subpoenaing the POM records from ADFA, and Larry Nichols will be in the game. So we're winning on that front. Yesterday, Senator Alphonse D'Amato's guy, a man named Dave Bossie, called me and he said, what was David Watkins and Vince Foster doing calling you 1 week before Vince Foster died from the White House? They have stumbled into phone records showing that David Watkins and Foster had called me. They found phone records that the day after Vince Foster died that Patsy Thomason, Matt McClarty, and David Watkins had called me. I told them the reason they had called me the week before was they were trying to figure out what they could pay me so that I would get off of their back. The day after Vince Foster died, the three of them were calling me to get the tapes of Vince and Hillary screwing that I had, and I wouldn't give them to them. So, Mr. D'Amato was about to get in the box. They run for me like the plague. Thousands of people have called them and asked, about me. Why am I not testifying? And they keep running from it. But I don't think they'll be able to run much longer because every time they turn around, they keep bumping into me. And most important, you know what? They keep bumping into you. I'll leave you with this. There's a couple of things you can do to help me. I can prove to you that the one thing they're afraid of on this earth is you. You see, all of the politicians, Bill Clinton, any of them, they're not afraid of me. Because they can block the media, they can control the media, they can hurt me, shoot, they can kill me whenever they want. But the people they're afraid of is you. And if you need an acid test to prove it to yourself, here it is. If they weren't afraid of you, then they wouldn't lie to you. You see, they wouldn't have to lie to you. They'd just do it, and do it in front of you, and say you can't do anything. But the election, when the Republicans were put in and the Democrats were put out, that was no joke. That was not an election talking about Democrats and Republicans. That was you, the American people, standing up and saying, no more Clinton. Now, of course, the media and Clinton have drawn a new revision of that, and now they say, you know, it had nothing to do with Clinton, it had to do with something else. But I'm telling you, that was you speaking. And if you'll help me, if you'll call Senator Alphonse D'Amato, don't call your congressman, don't call your senators, we're beyond that now. It's time. You got to call D'Amato, demand that Larry Nichols be able to testify. I promise you, whatever I talk to Kenneth Starr about, that which I can tell you, and even though I can't tell you some specifics, I guarantee you, I told them, you'll know everything I'm doing. I am not going to do anything behind some closed door. They're not going to take my evidence, my information, put it behind some door, and y'all never hear it again. I made a promise. Whatever they tell me that I didn't already know, I would not tell you. And I've already lied about that. Whatever I tell them, I will have already told you. And I think that's the best way we're going to get to the end, as long as you know. Now, the other thing that you could do, besides calling Senator Alphonse D'Amato, and I feel terrible asking, but I don't know no other way. I've funded us with these books. I have funded with hawking everything. I'll show you right now hawk slips where I've hawked everything I own of any value. You know, how many people in this room would pay $1,000 today to save this country? How many would do it? I mean, if you had it, how many would do it? Of course you would. Folks, you're looking at the front line fighting. There ain't nobody but us. There ain't nobody. Bill Clinton and these people around him, they use our money on us. I feel so bad when I see Bill Clinton saying that he guessed he's bankrupt. I guess he's lying, because we find out he's got an insurance policy to pay for all these legal bills. He ain't broke, he's using us to do it. Folks, I don't have a pot to pee in. Jack Jones, the man, bless his heart, that brought us here. And I tell you, I've been in some scary situations. I mean, I've had people chasing me. Larry knows, had people breaking my arms and my bones. I ain't never been as scared as I have been riding in the car with that man in Detroit. But God love him. He put $1,000 into helping us. $1,000. And you don't know how far that helps us. We've got people that I'm trying to help that are in hiding until they're turned over to Kenneth Starr or somebody where the federal government can pay for them. We have to keep them up. Please, there's got to be people in this room that can match Jack. I ain't lying. I've proved every word I've ever said. I don't take the money. The money don't go to me. It don't pay our rent. It don't pay our car payment. It don't pay that. It pays, well, I take it back. It does pay my car payment, because I lost my car. I don't have any way to get around. and you at least want me to be able to run from them. Pays my phone bill, but it don't pay the gas bill. It don't pay the electric bill. For God's sakes, help us. Some of you give $1, and that dollar is every penny they have to their name. And you don't know, I get sometimes people send checks in the mail, and people go down and they get a money order for $5, and they send it. And it breaks my heart when I get them, because I know those people gave everything they had. Do you know I've gotten 10 checks for $1,000? Ever. 10. And I know there are people out there that have a lot of money. And don't worry about chipping in and helping us, because if you don't, Clinton's going to get it. He's going to get it. And I always think about Nazi Germany. And I see these pictures of the Jews getting supposedly on the trucks, being led to slaughter. You hear me? I've never understood that. I ain't getting on that truck. They may kill me, but they're going to have to kill me fighting. I'm not going to be led like a damn lamb on the truck to be slaughtered by these people. And if guys like Larry Patterson, Roger Perry, Justice Jim Johnson, Jack Jones, if these people can give all they got and risk their lives, then please help us. I know you put something in that box, but some of you think about it. Don't you let them take your money. Fight. Fight hard. And if you know anybody in New Hampshire, you tell them, don't vote for Doe. Vote for Buchanan. You might say Pat Buchanan. Why do I say Pat Buchanan? Pat Buchanan's never talked to me. He don't even know who I am probably, but I'll guarantee you this. At least Pat Buchanan is saying today what he said 4 years ago. At least Pat Buchanan ain't going to have our kids being killed as a part of some United Nations force. He's not allowing GATT and NAFTA. And if you rise up, and I can prove this one, God's on our side, because I'm still alive. Thank y'all. If anybody has any questions, I don't know the point.
I read in the paper where Larry had filed a lawsuit relative to matters that arose during his employment. And in that lawsuit, he mentioned about Clinton's affairs with a number of bimbos, and he called them by name. This was sensational. And in looking at the overall matter, it occurred to me that that particular part was not germane to the original lawsuit, or for the purpose of the lawsuit he had filed relative to his employment with the state. Having named the names of those people, and as time went on, the spin doctors went into overtime attempting to blacken and smear Larry Nichols' name, and they did a magnificent job in that project. They made him so that people didn't want to believe or understand anything that he had brought to their attention. And then the state policeman came forward here recently and told essentially the same story relative to the same people that Larry had literally put his total reputation on the line to bring to the attention of the American people relative to Clinton's shady background. These troopers have virtually said exactly. They have brought forward creditable evidence relative to these occurrences that Nichols had emphasized earlier. There is less evidence against 90% of the people on death row than these troopers have brought forth relative to Bill Clinton and his activities that Larry Nichols had disclosed earlier. These people are creditable witnesses, and they have completely exonerated Larry Nichols in his original statement. And all of the smearing that the spin doctors have done against that man ought to be put aside, and he should be looked upon as for the truth teller that he has proven to be.
Larry and I are here. Does anybody have any question or anything to say? Yes, sir.
You said you've already met with the Starr Commission. Was it Starr or one of his assistants?
It was not Kenneth Starr. It was one of his top people. It was not one of his investigators. It was above that. But I can't tell you his name because they said not to. But it was Hickman Ewing.
Tell us what your opinion is on whether Starr will do what he's supposed to do, or does somebody own him? Will he do what he's got to do?
I believe he will. The bottom line is, yeah, I think he's serious. Through his people, we came to an understanding. We have some guidelines that we now know how to work. And the fact that it took a heck of a lot of courage for them to meet with me. I mean, you've got to understand that Clinton don't like that. And Starr will be hurt politically because he met with me. But he believes, Kenneth Starr believes in you, I guarantee, and he believes in me. Or us. Anybody else?
We have a microphone back here. If anybody has any questions, we can all hear the question. What do we need a drug side for? What did Bennett do being a drug side, former Bennett? Why do we get into these drugs?
You know, I'm not a... The question was, why do we need a drug czar? Why was Bill Bennett? I'm not... You know, guys, the only thing I can tell you about are the things that I can prove in court. I'm not real smart on that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I don't understand. You know, I don't understand why George Bush knew everything that I'm telling you tonight in the campaign in 1991. He didn't use any of it. You know, I don't understand. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to know if any of the indictments have run out or any of the limitations.
No. There was back in September and December of last year, Bruce Lindsay, for taking $10,000 out and not filling out the proper forms, those statute of limitations ran out. But I was informed Friday that there is a reason they have not indicted Bruce Lindsay, basically, and they will, as soon as some things change, go after him, and the statute of limitation does not affect them.
I also had one other question.
And by the way, Hillary is not excluded from statute of limitation on the Madison stuff. Not the criminal end of it now. Maybe civilly, but not criminally. And he knows it, and he's going to get her, I believe.
You've been attacked now several times, and I was just wondering, don't they offer you any type of protection or anything like that? Being,
No.
the FBI?
They hadn't even talked to me, and well, shoot, it's the government that's doing it half the time.
Larry, I have a question. I've never been able to understand, and maybe this isn't it's not a simple answer, but how did that drug laundering, the money that was laundered, how was that physically, how did that transpire? I mean,
All right, it is complicated. The question is, how physically was the drug money being laundered. Dan Lassiter would today take, let's say, $10,000 cash. He had a waiver. There are you can get a waiver like Walmart does where you can go to the bank and put cash in, more than $10,000 and not report it. There are 3 types of brokerage firms. There's the type that can do under $5,000 trades and up to $5,000 without reporting them daily to the SEC. Then the next category is $25,000. You can do trades up to $25,000 cash or otherwise without reporting them daily. Then there's the third one that Payne, Weber, and big companies like that get, and you can do unlimited trading amounts. Dan Lassiter, folks, had the third category. Now, number one, he had a waiver for the cash deposits, and he could do unlimited without reporting. The only person that audited Dan Lassiter's brokerage books was Patsy Thomason. Now, Dan Lassiter would take $10,000 today in the name of a man named Dennis Patrick from Kentucky, a guy that worked for the county. He didn't make but $2,000 a month, but they knew his name. He went to ADFA and he said, give me $10,000 worth of bond issues, QSUP blank. ADFA bonds. He bought them, gave ADFA $10,000, right? He said he sold them to Dennis Patrick. He would hold them for 3 days. Now remember, that was drug money. He put it into the bank and he bought the bonds, right? 3 days from now, Larry Patterson, he would say, Larry Patterson, and he's doing this all internally, so nobody really knows. He's just got some records. He says Larry Patterson gave him $10,000, and he bought the $10,000 worth of bonds, ADFA bonds, from Dennis Patrick. So he takes that $10,000, puts a new $10,000 cash into the bank. He gets a cashier's check from Union Bank or First American Bank and writes a Lassiter and Company check to give to Dennis Patrick, supposedly. Do you see how he's doing it? He's putting cash in and getting checks, and he's playing like today I bought them. He's playing like tomorrow you bought the ones I bought from me, so you're giving me money, and that's how they would do it. They constantly rolled the money. I'm probably not doing a good job of explaining it, but it's real simple. I mean, you give me a hot dollar bill, and I have a way tomorrow to give you a check back that makes that dollar bill good.
I think I see what you're saying, but it is confusing. I've got some money here. What do I do?
I don't know. Just give it to us, I hope. There's a box. Isn't there a box somewhere?
Yes, sir, right here.
Right here.
Larry, I got a two-part for you.
Yes, sir.
A, without revealing what you can't reveal, do you think Hillary will be indicted?
Yes.
And B, do you think that Bill, if he gets turned up, would possibly step aside this summer?
No.
To be pardoned? No.
No. Listen to me, folks. Hillary Clinton's going to be indicted. And I feel better about that after my meeting Friday than I have ever felt in my life. Hillary Clinton's going to be indicted. Bill Clinton, I assure you, she won't go to jail, but Bill Clinton is not going to step down. And let me tell you why. There's about 25 to 30 people that are lying through their teeth and committing perjury and everything else to keep a whole bunch of people like Dan Lassiter and Don Tyson and Jack Stevens and those kind of people from going to jail. And if they ever get scared that Bill Clinton won't pardon them and they ever tell the truth, big people are going to be going to jail. And the only thing keeping them from changing their story is the fact that Bill Clinton's going to pardon them when they get caught. That's why you can see Susan Thomas's and these people just stand up there blatantly in front of the Senate and in front of you and lie. You know they're lying. They know they're lying. They know that the committee knows they're lying, but they don't care because no matter what they do, Bill Clinton will pardon them. Bill Clinton will not give up that bargaining chit, I'll guarantee you. And there's one question that you haven't asked, and I'm kind of getting a little hoarse, so let me take a sup of water and let Larry answer it for me, for you. And that is whether Vince Foster and Hillary Clinton were having an affair.
Okay, look, there's no doubt that Bill and Hillary had a long-term, ongoing relationship. But on several occasions, the people who transported Hillary took her to various locations where she met Vince. On many occasions when Clinton would leave town, the first visitor to the governor's mansion would be Vince Foster. And on one occasion, I saw Vince Foster and Hillary Clinton in a very compromising position at Alouette's restaurant at Hillary Clinton's birthday party. So there is no doubt in my mind that this took place.
Thank you.
And by the way, there are other people on governor's security that have said the same thing, and I'm telling you the amount of people has increased. Used to it was just Larry and Roger. Now there's at least 5 different security people that have said the same thing. Yes, sir.
Larry, first of all, I want to tell you, you two guys got more guts than Clint Eastwood in his best movie. I'm not going to ask you about Hillary and Bill Clinton because I think the way you do about them. But when we get rid of them, what are we going to do with the Keens and the Bushes and a million other millionaires out there? And I've seen the money pass. I've been in business all my life. How are we going to stop all this? After we get rid of it, we're going to stop it.
That ain't my job.
But is there a way?
Yeah, I mean, folks, listen. If we'll ever stand up one time, and if we shove and expose Bill Clinton and all of this evil bunch that he's got with him, the evil circle of power around him, you will set these forces of people back so many years that they can't rebuild. They'll not rebuild in our children's lifetime. We will have knocked them out of the block. But I'm telling you, you better hear me. Again, I don't like to mix religion, but I think God's made it very clear. It's up to us. We're going to choose between good and evil. And it can't be any more clear than it is with the Clintons and this nation. What should scare you to death scares me. With everything that has been proven, everything that has come out, there seems to be 40% of the people in this nation right now that morally it's fine with them. That is what shakes me. Because that means there's 40% that it don't matter what they get caught doing. It don't bother them a bit. Now, there's 40%, whether they're here in this room or not, believe me, there's some 40% that feel like we do. But everything hinges on this 20% that don't care. But I can assure you, since the day in '88 when I started this, when you talk about being scared, those were the scary days because nobody knew nothing. Now it's pretty easy relative to that. But if you saw how far we had come, it started out with nobody knowing, then we got on the radio shows, thank goodness, and then more and more people started hearing. Now there's some millions of us, and it's culminating with at least Kenneth Starr recognizing us now when they haven't before. So it's growing. But if you'll take your country back, you'll set this bunch back, and it'll save this country for many years. Yes, sir.
In Terry Reed's book, Compromised, when they were pulling out of Arkansas, moving the gun operation to Mexico, there was a final meeting which Clinton attended along with several other people. Terry Reed was there. And there was one guy, I believe he was a CIA operative. And Clinton, of course, was very angry because the money was going to stop. But the CIA operative indicated to him that he would be on the short list to achieve his lifelong goal. And I believe that CIA operative went on to be the Attorney General under Bush. I can't think of his name.
William Barr.
What is it?
William Barr.
William Barr. Okay. Can you shed any light on that meeting?
No, the only things I can tell you about are the things that I can prove in a court of law. And let me explain. There's somebody here that if I go out on a limb, and let's just say I comment on something that I can't prove, If Clinton could catch me one time saying something that wasn't true, everything that I have in here that is true would be discredited. I don't know about Terry's book. I don't know if all of that stuff went on or not. Now, I do know Mina went on. I do know that drugs and money were coming in and out of that airport. I personally don't know whether the CIA was behind it or whether Barry Seal, cashed in on a good deal and backhauled. I don't know. Terry Reid's got to prove that, and that's what he's doing. He has proven through his discovery amazing things that I never dreamed would have been proven. I mean, he's got people, state policemen, saying that, yes, they were there to raid Barry Seal and they were pulled off. So, I mean, we're getting incredible discovery. But, I don't know. Somebody's going to ask the question in accord with that about the James Norman stuff, about Vince Foster and selling secrets to the Mossad. Folks, I do not believe that to be true. I do not believe any of that to be true. I know about the systematic stuff because I've got the affidavit from the guy, and I know that's a stretch. I know that Ambrose Evans Pritchard ran the Swiss bank account number, and it was a bogus account, and he gave that number to James Norman and told him that it was a bogus account. I know that Charlie Hayes, the guy that Jim Norman says is the most dangerous man with the CIA, is a joke. He is not real. We investigated him stem to stern. Obviously, I've got about as good contacts as anybody on earth with the CIA because a lot of stuff I get from people like that. Jim Norman's not a bad man, nor is Media Bypass. I believe that they believe it beyond anything that they can do. But, sometimes we all get deceived. Clinton and them are masters at disinformation. So don't go, I'm not knocking James Norman. I'm certainly not knocking Media Bypass. I just do not personally, nor does Larry, and he'll tell you his reasons if you want him to, but we know Vince Foster, and we don't think so. Yes, sir.
I have just one question, and that is, so who killed Vince Foster? Who's the hitman?
Let me tell you, there's a lot of me, if not the majority of me, that thinks he really did kill himself.
Not necessarily shoot himself in the head. You have to understand that he left his office at 1 o'clock. There was a feed that came over the wires from the New York Post or the Times that said the next morning there was going to be a major expose in the Washington Times about the affair between Vince and Hillary. The Washington Times, Wesley Pruden called me and said, did I know about a story? I said I didn't. Imagine this. Imagine Vince Foster all of the sudden finding out that the affair between him and the First Lady is going to destroy his family, is going to destroy the First Lady. I mean, that sucker's going to come out. What if he went home or went over to the safe house, which is where I think he died, and then they panicked and moved him, and that's the crime? What if he just OD'd on some drugs trying to calm himself down? And then they couldn't have that, so then they staged it to make it look like he's dead. I will just leave it this way. I don't know if he killed himself, and I don't know if somebody killed him. I can't prove either one of those. Those are beyond my means. But I can prove he didn't die in the park the way they said, and that's a big enough crime to hang him forever. Yeah.
Larry, I would like to know, after tonight, how can we help you? And how can people send money and be supportive?
I'll give you my address if you want it, if that will help.
Yeah. Is everybody ready? It's number 58 Kensington, Kensington, Conway, Conway, Arkansas, 72032. My phone number is 501-329-5122. Arkansas, and Arkansas, by the way, is AR. and the zip is 72032. And when you send mail to me, I would suggest you send it, if you can, FedEx or UPS, because I think you need to know my mail appears to be opened quite regularly. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I was wondering, do you have the telephone number of Senator Alphonse D'Amato on hand?
Somebody, you got my briefcase?
Maybe you could give that at the end.
Ma'am. Banking Committee number 202-224-7391.
Does he have a fax?
I don't have it. 202-224-7391. And you have a right to call that number and say, I met Larry Nichols. Is there a printer in the house? Is there somebody that has a printing shop or something? If I give you this book, would you make copies for people? I mean, sell them. Nobody in here wants you to do it for nothing. But would you be willing to do that for people? Give this book. Now, folks, he's going to make copies for you. You need to call him the way he wants. I would wish that if somebody wanted the Secret Service memo, let them buy it page or let them buy it by the book. Guys, you need the documents. How many of you have turned to your neighbors, your family members, and told them about this stuff, and they give you that look? Obviously, I have had that look a time or two myself. But once you show them, I want you to show them. You can prove you can prove it. You can prove it with these documents. That man with the media, he can prove it now. Let him see them before he leaves here. But if you'll come up and get this, please. Here. Yeah.
How brave can you be to stand up there and talk when your life is probably in danger? And I have a question for the state trooper here.
Yeah.
How can we as American citizens, we're going to listen to people to hear the truth. We hear of all these things that are going on in the government that are kind of shady. Yet we, the people who come forward, are made to feel guilty, like we're anti-government. I'm sick of that feeling. Is anybody else here sick of it?
Well, let me say this. I had to go through that very thing. And I just made up my mind. They could call me names. They could beat me up. And in my case, they could kill me. But damn it, I ain't getting on that truck. And that's something you got to do.
You spent enough money, would you get a bodyguard?
No. I got pretty good bodyguard. God's my armor. When I'm through and he's through with me, it'll be over. It's what I hope all of you will leave here tonight and know you've met us now. I'm regular old. I worry with all the talk shows that people think this is entertainment. I'm just a regular guy. I'm just like you. I'm not brave. I'm scared to death. But what are you going to do? I would rather die today 1,000,000 times than to have my daughter and your children have to go through what they're going to have to go through to take the country back if we let it go. There ain't no sense. I've been in countries where they fight in the streets to take back and to get what we already have. And there's no sense on earth to let people like Bill Clinton steal it from us, especially when we're looking right at him. You control the destiny of this country, not Larry Nichols. You control your destiny and that of your children. And when they look at you funny And when they make you feel like an idiot because you're scared, when they make you feel like an idiot because you're concerned, and you don't want bad things to happen to this country, and part of the design is to make you feel that way, stand up and say, I met Larry Nichols and Larry Patterson once. What will they do? They'll spit in their face. I came to do what I'm going to do. And that's all there can be. There can't be any more. Yes, sir.
Larry, you mentioned appearing on talk shows, and I think many of us have heard you on Mike Reagan and some other ones locally. Which talk shows you feel have treated you the best, and which talk show hosts have you felt have been the fairest, and which ones have you gotten the most response from, a favorable response?
You're not going to believe. I guess I've sat down and just tried to figure up how many talk shows I do, you know, like regularly, and it's somewhere between 220 and 250 talk shows throughout the country. Obviously, the biggest nationally for me are Chuck Carter and Mike Reagan. And y'all, I have never been abused by those two guys. In the beginning, I had to prove to them. I mean, nobody lets me on. That's why I worry and get sometimes bitter about the Norman stuff. You know, every time they ask him a question, well, can you prove it? Well, yeah, I've got deep CIA cover. Hey, they ain't never let me say stuff like that. They said, hey, before we say this on the air, you better fax us something. But you've got two really great stations here, a guy named Mark Scott and another station with a man named Kevin Joyce. As a matter of fact, when I leave tonight, I'm going in and spend 2 hours in studio with Kevin. You don't realize it, but these guys are taking incredible risks. They're all risking their careers to help us get the word out. You know, one thing that I wish we would all think about, you know, I don't know how many people here gave us $1,000. I don't even know if anybody did. I don't know if anybody gave anything to help. That's something you'll have to sleep with tonight. This is your turn to stand up. But you know what we do every day? How many people know that the newspaper here is lying to you and it's not telling the truth? How many of you buy it? Now think about it. How many of you buy it?
Which what, pass or profit?
Well, my point is, I see this, I better get a towel, I made a mess. I see it all over the country. We all know that the media is lying to us, but we buy the newspaper. Stop it. That don't cost us nothing. Don't buy the paper. And if enough people, you want to get their attention, enough people stop buying that paper, watch what they start printing. And then how many people have businesses that advertise on these radio programs? And then we buy from people that have businesses that back the papers and back Clinton. Stop that. Don't you buy from people that are paying to destroy your own country. Don't walk over somebody. That's why we don't have more talk shows, because there are not a lot of advertisers, because when they advertise on this kind of stuff, they get bludgeoned by Democrats. And I'm fine, just trying not to make it. But, you know, we need to help those that are helping us. I mean, that is just fundamental. I mean, that's just do it.
Yeah, you can thank Kevin Joyce for allowing me to get the plug on his program at about 1 o'clock this morning. I guess you'll be on from midnight until about 2
Yeah.
tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate him allowing that. And that's one of the problems. Many of these screeners, that's the last thing they want to do is allow you to get a plug in. So I would urge all of you to perfect your skills of getting a mention the day or so before one of our meetings when you know we've got a big guest like Larry, and it really helps out. Many of you people are here because of those plugs.
And you know, and I don't want, you know, I'm not much on patronizing, but it's significant that these guys, just as pro se, would have me in here, and
And I would appreciate if you mentioned Justice Pro Se on Kevin Joyce's show tonight.
I will. I will. And, you know,
Kevin Joyce is on, WJR is on every night from is he on 11:30? Oh, I heard he's on earlier. Okay. I think he's on at 9 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the morning now.
yeah, it's a weird time.
He gave a new time slot, so he's on every night during the week from 9 until 2, and I urge you all to listen to him. He's good.
Yeah, and listen to one other thing, if you would, please. Some of you think that I've tried to be honest with you, I'm not an honorable person, I'm not a good guy. And I certainly am not any kind of brave or heroic person right there. And I worry about it. You know, people know the name Larry Nichols. Not as many people know the name Larry Patterson. I'm being as honest as I can be. I'm in this mess because I'm stupid. I'm in this mess because I didn't have a choice. Larry Patterson, Roger Perry stood up when they didn't have to. That's what you call a hero. That's people that do it because it's the right thing to do. And you people owe him more than you'll ever owe me in a million years.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was just the right thing to do. It's that simple. It's just the right thing to do. I know we have to end this really soon because there's another group coming in. But ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for being here for yourself, for the next generation, for our country. Thank you. God bless you.
I know the media hasn't covered your story much at all, and I was wondering if we were to organize a 1 million man march on
You bet you. I know two that will be at the front of the line.
I had this crazy dream about some folks who love this country, who all began to dream the same dream. And when the morning came, there arose across this nation people thinking one and the same. And they awoke to find their freedoms and all their liberties had gradually been taken away. And when they realized the danger to their posterity, I heard those patriotic people say, we want this country back. We ain't just joking, Jack. We want our liberty and our dignity and our freedoms and our rights restored. We want this country back. She's been driven way off track. We're wide awake and we're madder than hell now, and we ain't gonna take it anymore. No, we're not gonna take it anymore. Remember golden days when the stars and stripes forever symbol America.